refer to yourself in terms of that, which is not the same thing as what type of witch you are, just to be like, cutesy, I'm a baby witch. Like, we know what you mean. Like, you're just starting out.
Right.
Like, this is you're just getting into the craft. You are Angela Lansbury and Bend Humps and Broomsticks.
Right.
Like,
Lakipo Nicriff Scrumpet Leech.
there's nothing wrong with that. So if that is like where you're at, a lot of times you see so many people in this position, they are clearly seeking someone to teach them.
Yeah.
So they're going on YouTube, they're going on Instagram, they're going on TikTok, they're looking and reaching out, and a lot of times what they're doing is they're falling into this kind of con, this kind of, and yeah, a lot of times it does end with, you know, take my course, you know, sign up for my Patreon, contribute to get this, to find out what type of witch you are.
Exactly. Like, oh, I have your results ready.
Yeah.
Sign up for the free trial.
Yeah, no, that's not
Like,
how witchcraft works.
No. Hey witches, blessed new moon in Cancer, and happy 49th anniversary of The Omen.
Welcome back. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. If you are coming and joining us again, welcome back. My name is Marcus. I am an author, witch, activist, and defiant homosexual.
And I am Evan. I am obviously also a witch, otherwise why would I be here?
Yeah.
I am also a lipstick lesbian, a book editor, only fiction, so don't come at me with your autobiographies.
No.
And I'm a legal assistant.
Yes. And if you are, again, joining us for the first time, welcome. If you are back because you are enjoying what you're seeing with us, welcome back. And if you like what you see, please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and help us spread the word about our baneful and blessed coven that we're building here in our little corner of the circle.
Where we are two homos, one chalice, and it is a spellbinding good time.
Absolutely it is. Well, here we are.
Yes, here we are, yet another episode.
Yes, after our summer solstice, Juno Moneta, Lita special, this is going to be very pared down.
Yes.
I'm going to apologize ahead of time if the outside noise is a little louder than usual. It is summer here. It is hot. I live in a pre-war building. There is no AC, so we have to have one window open to circulate air. Obviously, if something is too loud, we will cut it out. But just bear with us. It's summer. It's hot. We're doing the best we can.
Exactly.
So, a little pared down in terms of this episode to the last, obviously,
Yes.
for many reasons, which good. Because
right.
that was a
lot of
lot.
preparation for us.
Yeah, poison oak and everything.
I know.
So, let me get adjusted here. So that was a good time.
So much fun.
In other ways it was.
Yes.
And the ending to the last episode, very bewitched.
Oh yes, very much. We really
super
enjoyed
fun.
filming that.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it as well.
Exactly.
All right, so let's just get right into Witchcraft in the News.
Yeah.
Kick us
So
off.
the first thing that I have to discuss is a story out of Ghana.
Okay.
813 men and women, and yes, I said men and women, accused of witchcraft are receiving bi-monthly cash grants from the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty, which is amazing.
Yes.
AKA LEAP.
Love. Oh, Leap. I love it.
Yes. So this is part of an intervention by the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection, aiming to provide relief and support to those who have been unjustly ostracized and or deprived, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously, in a culture such as you see in Ghana, witchcraft accusations can often result in mental health deterioration, unfortunately, occasionally including to loss of life.
Yes.
Especially amongst older women.
Yeah. The hag. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I am very glad that that is happening. That is a very, like, one of the few uplifting stories that we get to report on. So that's really nice.
It really is. That's really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm really happy that that's happening.
Yeah, and it runs rampant. You have like where it's like they're ostracized and they're sent to like they have to live in these like witch villages and like where they're like subject to like further abuse and targeting because then people know exactly where to find them and where they are. And I mean, I've seen documentaries and news things about these like throughout the years, decades, whatever, because it's been going on for such a long time.
Yeah.
And so many of the victims, by the time they do escape and get to these like witch villages with other accused witches, they're fucked up. Like sometimes they're like
100%.
damaged from like acid burns, from fire, from beating, from like just torture, from horrendous things. So it's just so great.
Yeah, I think that is a really positive step in the right direction, especially coming out of somewhere where the culture is the way it is in Ghana.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's awesome. I think that like so many of the stories that we do see from that part of the world, they're towards the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
so
usually not joy.
Yeah. So it's just so great to see that happening for these Ghanaian people.
Yeah, exactly. So the Oklahoma State Board Committee of Education, including replaced state board member, begins social studies textbook adoption of the new social studies curriculum to be inserted in the new social studies textbooks. So the state textbook committee will approve the new textbooks that adhere to new social studies standards. The former Oklahoma State Board of Education member Kendra Wesson will now continue on as a chair of a key committee that will choose all the state approved textbooks. And this will for all public schools, and this will last for like the next 7 years. And she has been State Superintendent Ryan Walters' designee to lead the committee since she joined the state board in January of 2023. Now here's the thing of Wesson. Walters said in a statement, Kendra is pro-student, pro-education reform, and a pro-Trump conservative who will uphold pro-American principles throughout this process. I look forward to working with her as we are poised to introduce the best academic standards in the country and to Oklahoma classrooms this fall. They have added social and moral questions to the rubric in terms of what they use to determine if the subjects could be included, asking whether materials submitted for social studies textbooks degrade traditional roles of men and women, promote illegal lifestyles, so like talking about Harvey Milk, Stonewall riots, etc., or neglect the importance of religion in preserving American liberties, and now requires schools to educate students about biblical teachings and Judeo-Christian values that influenced the colonies and founding fathers. Language casting doubt on the 2020 election results is also required.
Oh my God.
Walters added that to it after the committee voted to approve the standards on February 27th. So this will then, the final vote, I believe, on this is going to be November 7th, and then would go into effect November 14th, last 7 years. It's just like, oh my God, I'm sorry, Oklahoma. Like, if you are a rational person and you live in the state of Oklahoma, get the fuck out, find a way, especially if you have children, do not subject your children to this shit. Don't even, this is terrifying indoctrination. Straight up, this is rewriting of history, terrifying indoctrination of our youth, of Christian Judeo values. Influence of that. We're going to talk about the witch trials, and not just Salem, because there were other people in other places throughout the colonies who were accused and killed for witchcraft. There was somebody who was killed and fucking put on trial for witchcraft in like the 1900s. Like, shit still happens.
Yes.
Like, shit still fucking, like, so we talk about that influence. I'm going to talk about the influence of Judeo-Christian values on segregation and slavery. Like, no, they're not talking about the reality of the Judeo-Christian influence on the American colonies and the American people. They're just going to talk about the glory to God, Puritan shit, which, by the way, not everybody was fucking Puritans. If you went down to South Carolina, the Carolinas, which were also British colonies, or go down to fucking the deep south like Louisiana, Mississippi and shit, which were French colonies and Spanish, etc. They were Catholic influenced, and they celebrated Halloween, they celebrated Christmas. Like, they weren't the Puritans. No. But when they talk about this, it's a focus once again. We talked about for the Harvest Home Thanksgiving episode. Fucking, they worship the Pilgrims. They beat off to the fucking Puritans.
They
like,
really do. That's
what the focus is going to be, is that perspective of Judeo-Christian values that shaped the colony. Like, they're not going to talk about how it's influenced other things in our society and our government that have been dangerous and deadly.
Exactly.
To anyone who wasn't white and Christian, Protestant, whatever. Like, so gross. Just PSA. This was a PSA to those of you in Oklahoma, or considering moving to Oklahoma. Now you know not to. Get the fuck out. Or don't go at all if you haven't yet.
Exactly. And I just think it's really interesting that they say Judeo-Christian when they don't mean the Jews.
No!
They only mean the Protestant Christians.
Correct. Like, it's so gross. It's so gross. I can't. Like, it's so gross.
I know.
It's so gross.
It's
really just
so
gross.
It's gross. How many times can we say gross this episode?
Yeah. Oh, I feel like with the subjects coming up, there will be a lot of that.
Oh, yes. So this is another story that relates back to Oklahoma. Again, if you're in Oklahoma,
get out. The call is coming from inside the state.
Yes. So this did not occur in Oklahoma, but the person in question was from Oklahoma. This is a man named Sean Patrick Palmer.
Okay.
Whitest name ever, right?
And three names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He is from Perkins, Oklahoma. He was in Salem, Massachusetts in April. He has now pled guilty to throwing a pipe bomb at the Satanic Temple in Salem.
Oh, God. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
That's right.
So April 8th at around 4:14 a.m., he threw the bomb and ran away. However, the bomb did not successfully detonate, so minimal damage to the building was caused, luckily. You can always count on these people to not know how to bomb properly.
It's true. They just think they never know how to put bombs together, right?
I know. So he also left a 6-page handwritten letter that was found in a flower bed near the temple.
Okay.
Basically just stating that God had sent him to make the Satanists repent, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to get into exactly what it said. I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah.
So he was apprehended and charged April 17th. He did not make this crime very difficult to detect. He has been sentenced to 5 years in prison with an additional 3 years of supervised release after that.
Smart.
So that is good. But yeah, that was his whole situation. Yeah.
Christians, seriously, Oklahomans, like, God, the fuck is wrong with you people? I swear, like, none of you follow Jesus.
No.
Like, it's all peace, love. Y'all are violent and insane and bombing shit all the time. Satanic temples, fucking abortion clinics, women's health clinics, because there are different in a lot of places.
There was just a fertility clinic in California that got bombed, and apparently the guy, like, it was a suicide bomber. But before he went that route, he made it clear that it was because he, quote unquote, did not agree with test tube babies.
Christians.
And of course now his father is defending him.
Of course.
It's a whole thing.
Murdering him. Whatever.
Right.
Christians. Stop it. Stop it. Y'all are crazy. Stop it.
In this situation, the sad thing is how many Christians do conflate fertility clinics with abortion clinics.
Yeah.
That's the opposite kind of women's health. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they don't.
Well, because
it's
not being made naturally
right.
by a penis inside a vagina.
Exactly.
Maybe a vagina. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird that
really
it's just
weird.
they're all conflated and confused and fucked up in Christianity. I don't know. It just the entire Judeo-Christian religion seems to make people crazy. I don't know. We're not doing this shit.
No.
We're just not. Pagans are not running around doing this shit. Like,
no,
I don't know. Witches aren't running around doing this shit. Like, it's just, we're not. Like, I don't hear about Satanists doing this shit. Christians, predominantly Protestant Christians who do this, but Catholics too. Like, you're all crazy. You're all crazy. I'm sorry, but you are. And for those of you who are like, well, not all Christians, well, they are you. You're actually the outlier. They're the majority in terms of the religion.
Right.
You guys are the outliers. You progressive Christians, progressive Jews, progressive Muslims of all branches, etc. You are the outliers. You are. You're not the majority in terms of that faith and what is determined, etc. They are. And this is them, and you have to own it. You have to own that this is Christianity. You can't keep saying it's not all Christians. They're not true Christians. They're not. Sure, philosophically, maybe they're not. But also, they are. That's the problem. They are. Because this is part of Christian doctrine. If the Word of God is true and holy, blah, 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 then there's shit in the Bible that, like, you have to come to terms with that means that your God is kind of a fucking asshole. And by kind of, I mean a lot. Like, a lot.
Right.
But your God apparently has also done some good. Apparently. If this is true, then you have to accept the duality of him and that he's not as loving and wonderful as you think he is. And honestly, Jesus is kind of a dickhole in a lot of the Bible too, and he's not exactly nice to a lot of people, and he is a cult leader. I don't know what else to say. He's a cult leader. Yeah. I mean, the cult of Christianity, he started it. Like, you read a story, yes, it tells it, it's on the side of his followers are the ones that the stories are in, so it's like, wonderful. But like, it still reads like a puff piece about a cult leader. You read between the lines, you can still see where if you were not part of the Christ cult, and you were just like a mainstream Jew, because you got to remember, Jesus was a Jew. He was broken, but he was creating a new cult, broken out of it. But it was based around him being the Messiah of the Jews. But then mainstream Jewish culture was like, no, you are not the Messiah. You are a cult leader. Like, this is a charismatic preacher. This is all this what this is. Like, and so that's really, but that's neither here nor there. We're not going to get a huge debate about that. That's not the point. It's just you have to accept that, like, there are some things that aren't so great, and these are still Christians.
Right.
And y'all are fucking crazy and murderous, and you have to stop. You have to stop. It's unacceptable in the 21st century to still behave this way. It just is. This isn't the Crusades. It was unacceptable then. Exactly. It was unacceptable then the way you guys forced everyone to convert to Christianity. Like, Yeah, it was over centuries and there wasn't trend, but there was a lot of convert or die by you guys. A lot of convert or die.
And let's not even get into the whole destroying other deities' temples.
Yeah, because you were so afraid of them and turning other deities into demons or changing them into your saints. If the cults were too strong in an area amongst the folk to totally get rid of it, then it was converted to a saint. But if you could demonize them first, that's what you first tried to do. And if that didn't work out, then there was boop. But yeah, so there's a lot of fuckery. So you just have to own it. You just have to own it and rein these people in.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's that for Witchcraft in the News.
Right.
Like we said, there just isn't always a whole lot going on. Like, it just, it's witchcraft-specific related news and occult news and metaphysical, this whole left-hand path news. And sometimes there's just not a lot of it. So
today is one of those times.
Yeah. On to our main story, main topic of discussion. So I was, like, scrolling through my headlines to look through for the some news topics. And I came across this from parade.com. And it was what goddess is connected to you or drawn to you or whatever related to you based on the day of your birth. So not like the date in terms of your birthday, not chart-wise, just literally the number day.
Right, the number day.
So I'm August 15th, so
right.
15.
Doesn't matter if you're August 15th, December 15th, or January.
15th.
It's just the 15th.
Just the 15th.
And I'm actually seeing a lot of that on Instagram lately, about not specifically your entire birth date, but the calendar day that you were born on, the number. Conflating that with personal traits, with metaphysical things that align with you, when really that's such a small part of your birth chart in general.
So this piece was written by Kelly McRae, I believe was her name. I will correct it here if I'm incorrect. And she is the parade.com, so Parade Magazine, parade.com, astrology expert. And apparently she is an astrologer and a tarot reader and comes from a family of spiritual people. I don't know if she is she does identify as she, her, so I'm not misgendering. I don't know if she is a witch or not identified. I mean, if you do astrology, tarot, I mean, that's to me is,
right.
If that works for you, then that is a witchy trait.
Yes.
That is a witchy trait.
Yes.
But she may not identify as a witch. She may be Catholic.
Right.
Maybe agnostic, maybe nothing, but anyway. And so she's the one who wrote this. My issue with this is it says, the article opened up with, powerful goddesses, blah, blah, blah. But then it was like numerologists, astrologers, and expert mystics all agree that these goddesses align with this information about your number of birthday. And there was no expert mystics, what? Is this the 1960s?
Right.
Is this a guru situation? It's just weird. Expert mystics. And then, so there's no, and she has an astrology book. And no knocking on her, on her hustle. I don't know anything about her.
Right.
But, she does what she do. But, I feel like this was being, instead of just saying my personal gnosis. Interpretation, my personal gnosis of this is what this equates to.
But to say all of these different people are agreeing, but you don't name any of these people.
Right.
Who are in
and then, she gives no explanation as to why these numbers are associated to this goddess.
Exactly.
So I'll give an example. For me, I'm August 15th. So for 15 in the piece, it says Aphrodite. So I was reading the description. And the description and how it was written out about people who are born on the 15th, and it's Aphrodite. The description I read, there were things that I was like, yes, but because I'm a Leo.
Right.
I know in August 15th. I know actually a lot of people who share my birthday.
Yeah.
So I know other people born on a 15th is basically what I'm trying to say, right? And they don't fit this description in any way, shape, or form. Even as, because there's also differences in Leos based on gender and everything, and biological gender expression and sex and all these other factors.
And you have to look at the whole natal chart.
Exactly.
There's much more than just your sun sign.
Exactly. Fuck. I even say, just to even have a more concrete grasp on yourself, just learn your moon and your ascending.
Exactly.
And make sure, and yes, it's, your natal chart even has so much more influence. But even having
just those
three gives you a better understanding and description, well-rounded, more of who you are than just your sun sign.
Exactly.
So, but I read the description of Aphrodite's thing, and I was like, a couple of them, yes. But I'm a Leo, so that makes sense. But the other things I was like, no, that's so not me and never has been in any way, shape, or form. I can tell you I have not, Aphrodite and I have not hung out.
Exactly.
She has not picked up the phone on me. Trust me, I tried decades ago. She never picked up the phone.
Right.
Me and her we could never even connect. So then I get to HEKA-TEA, because I was curious what they said. And they said 7, and I was like, okay, 7, yes. 7 is a sacred number of hers, so they're okay. But then it was 16 and 25. I believe. And I was like 16. Well, no, because 3 is sacred, 7 is sacred, 13 is sacred. The Ides of Hekate are August 13th, 14th, and 15th. So if I'm looking at sacred numbers to the deity, I would be looking at multiples of 3s, or her 7 rays, or like, because she has a diadem crown of 7 with 7 rays. I would be looking at 9, I would be looking at 13, 14, 15. I believe November 18th is Hecate's night, is another, so yeah, so 18. Like, when I was like 16, because 3 times, because I was like 3 times 6 is 18, 3 times 5 is 15, like, it didn't even make any, it just didn't make sense, like, at all, like, so, but there was no explanation given.
Exactly, and then, you know, actually, I have something to add to the whole 16 area. So, I know that this is spelling the HEKA-TEA, but however, I have a little tiny drop of HEKA-TEA to spell. So, 16 is actually a number that...
Well, I mean, the name is more just like spilling the T, spelling the HEKA-TEA.
I know.
Like, it's not really about, but yes.
I just thought that was funny. Anyways, so 16 is actually a number that is associated with Hera. Obviously, her most sacred number is 8, so she does involve in any multiples of that. But specifically, her Orphic hymn number was 16. During the Herea, which we discussed in the last episode, there were 16 women presiding. There were 16 competitors.
Yeah.
So if anything, 16 would be more associated with her.
Well, right, that's what I mean. If you're looking at sacred numbers, and she was basically going, I mean, she's got Durga in there, and she's got Bridget, but
like
she's got a lot of the Hellenistic and Grecian and Roman, so if you're looking at that, yeah, I would be like, again, if you're picking a number as a sacred, I would say the 16 I would have given to Hera.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'd have been like, okay.
And so to take a number that is associated with a particular deity and then to ascribe it to another deity, specifically a deity with whom those two have like beef with each other, like that just tells me you don't know anything about what you're talking about.
Yeah, and again, Hekate and Hera could be all over the dome with their shit, whatever that was. But again, it's out of respect, like to assign a digit from somebody else to somebody else. It just doesn't make sense. I was like, okay, you're giving 15 to Aphrodite.
Right.
Why? It just gave no explanation.
No, it really does not.
You got Persephone.
I got Persephone.
And there were a couple of things in the description that I would say, sure, yes, but I would say that's because you're a witch.
Yeah.
And by nature of a witch, you would be exploring those top, like, mystery, esoteric mysteries.
Exactly.
Like that. But that's because you're a witch.
Right.
Like, there was no explanation as to why specifically Persephone and how she even came to these deities and not other ones.
Exactly, because there were so many missing
and then Oshun was suddenly just dropped in there.
Yeah, and just like you and Aphrodite, I can make you 100% aware I have never stepped into the same ground as Persephone.
Yeah, it was just very, I don't know, there was no explanation. And so what it made me think of, though, when I came across this, was all the other things that we've all seen. Like, what type of witch are you?
Yes.
What kind of magic should you do? What path of witchcraft should you follow based on your GPA score and fucking how many toes you have still?
Right.
Like, I don't know, it's just, we've all seen them. Like, you go on YouTube or whatever, and I'll come across things in my recommendations that are like, if you're seeing this video in your feed, Isis has a message for you.
Right.
Like, Isis is calling you. Hekate is calling you. If you've seen these signs, like, and I feel like we're going to get a lot of flack because I feel like some of you probably have jumped down that hole.
And the signs are all like...
Do you have an affinity with animals?
Right.
Do birds come and sing above you in the trees?
Have you ever seen a flower while on a walk?
Yeah. Did you ever feel like you were being followed in a cemetery and had a connection to a certain grave? Well, then Hekate, goddess of ghosts, may be calling to you. Like, really? Like, it's always just very, like, stupid shit. Like, do you like to go to the ocean?
Right. Do you listen? Have you listened to the seashells?
Right. Have you heard the ocean against your ear while listening in a conch shell?
Well, guess what? Poseidon was drunk dialing you.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly what these are. And
oh my gosh, I actually just came across one on Instagram the other day, and it was from like an influencer, and it was like, me thinking that I was just a witch, and then I took this quiz and found out what type I am. You too can take my quiz if you hit my paywall. It's shit like this, and
it's a con.
And I think it's so
a scam.
And I think it's so dangerous because for witches who are just starting out and they don't know better, like they will believe you.
Yes.
You know?
No, and that's the thing is like, since when are we getting into the type of like what the fuck? Like a witch is a witch.
Exactly.
We have our hands in all shit.
Right.
Maybe you're pulled towards more one type of like shit than maybe like cooking, which more than gardening. Maybe you don't have so much green thumb, but you're still doing shit with herbs. You're still doing shit with plants. Like you're not just out with a garden. You're just going to the store and getting herbs from the herb section or something. Like you know what I mean? Like we're all you're a witch. You're just a witch. We have one in one realm, one in the other. Like, one realm into spirits and divine, one side here in this realm. Light and dark, like left-hand path, right-hand path, blah, 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 blah. Like, a witch is a witch. There's no, you don't need to take a quiz to then find out, like, what type of witch you are as opposed to cottage witch.
Right.
Like, if you want to be the witch of the wood and live in a cottage, fine. But
live in a cottage.
But that doesn't mean you're like, oh, I'm a cottage witch.
Right.
Because what I hear and see is then people just, like, leaning into aesthetics.
Yes.
Just these aesthetics. And, like, oh, I have to do this now. I have to be this kind of witch. And do this kind of witchcraft. And blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. You don't. A witch is just a witch. You're a fucking witch. Stop overthinking it. The craft is not for overthinking. I'm sorry. It isn't. It just isn't. Overthinking in the craft belongs in terms of, like, oh, I'm about to, like, do this spell to, like, summon, you know, the elementals of the fucking 9 realms of blah, blah, blah. I don't know, I'm just making up something right now. And so you do that, and I said that really like I was drunk. I was like, I'm just, I don't know why, I'm not drunk. But that was weird. But I'm just making shit up here. But I'm just giving you an example. Like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and it's a lot of ceremonial magic. It's fucking next level shit. It's intense. You have to do symbols, you know, on the ground, and they have to be correct. Like, it takes. Then that's when you overthink it. That's when you overanalyze. That's when it's like if you're approaching, I'm gonna approach a deity that, or a spirit, whatever, that like could fucking twist the realms of reality forever within my brain and fuck me up, and I'll be locked up in an asylum if I do this wrong, if I piss them off. Like, that's when you want to overthink, overanalyze, over-examine the craft and being a witch and what that means. But it should just be led by a drive to learn and understand and know all realms of magic and witchcraft and exploring just what calls to you and just embracing those parts of those strengths that you're, you know, those parts of witchcraft that you're stronger at than maybe others, whatever. But it doesn't mean that you are then this type or that type of witch, because you immediately confine yourself. And being a witch is about being boundless.
Exactly.
It's being limitless. That's what it's all about. It's like when, in Bewitched, when Endora would always say this, her daughter Samantha, you know, we're witches, we are quicksilver. Mm-hmm. We are a glimmer of dust in the corner of the eye. We are the sparkle of a shooting star. We have been past, present, future, and we will always be. Like, when she says shit like that, that is what she means. Like, that is what that means to be a witch. You're not bound by something. And this is all for people to make fucking money off of. Okay. Like, you know, I think that partly this has been a loss of connection, a loss of physical community. And, you know, back in the old days, you would go to a witchcraft shop, you would go to an occult shop, and there was a physical interaction. But now it's just order it off of Amazon, order it from here, order it from there. And people can just kind of, which is great, just get to it on their own. But you can obviously clearly see that there is still a yearning from people, from young witches, from baby witches, from whatever, however you want to refer to yourself in terms of that, which is not the same thing as what type of witch you are, just to be like, cutesy, I'm a baby witch. Like, we know what you mean. Like, you're just starting out. Right. Like, you're just getting in the craft. You are Angela Lansbury in Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Like,
Lacipone Criff Crumpet Leech.
there's nothing wrong with that. So if that is like where you're at, a lot of times you see so many people in this position, they are clearly seeking someone to teach them. Yes. So they're going on YouTube, they're going on Instagram, they're going on TikTok, they're looking and reaching out, and a lot of times what they're doing is they're falling into this kind of con, this kind of, and yeah, a lot of times it does end with, you know, take my course, you know, sign up for my Patreon, contribute to get this, to find out what type of witch you are.
Exactly. Like, oh, I have your results ready.
Yeah.
Sign up for the free trial.
Yeah, no, that's not how witchcraft works. No. It just isn't. And you're a witch. Don't overthink it. A witch is a witch. Like, you're just a fucking witch. We didn't have any of this.
No.
Like, I'm telling you, this is a Gen Z, like,
100%
kind of situation here. I will definitely say this was, the first time I heard someone be like, I'm a hedge witch, that was, and I get it, hedging, you know, this world and the next, spirit, mediumship, necromancy, etc. Technically, I would kind of be considered a hedge witch, but I don't see it that way. I'm just a witch. I'm just a witch. Like, I never even heard of these terms until, especially as a moniker, as a self-identifier, until probably 2019, 2020. Yeah. Like, I was like, what the fuck's a hedge witch? A gardener? Like, I thought that was like you were a green witch, hedge witch. I was like, oh, like trimming the hedges. Yeah. I get it. And then I was like, oh, hedging. I see hedging. I get it. And then I was like, okay, well,
See, for me, I just think that like there are, as a witch, there are going to be certain areas where you excel a little bit more than the others, but that doesn't mean that you don't have your hand in all of those areas.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're limiting yourself to like this moniker, this title of what type of witch you are, then you're honestly denying yourself the full beauty and breadth of witchcraft and what it means and what to take joy in. Because I guess you could say I'm more hedge witch. I just say I'm a wicked witch.
Right.
I'm baneful and blessed.
Exactly.
Hashtag baneful and blessed. But you know what? Give me a nice, beautiful summer day where the grass is emerald green and the leaves are beautiful and the flowers are blooming and it's warm and delicious out, like it is today. And I'm fucking talking to nature and I'm working with the flowers and the plants and I'm doing some botanica magic and I'm I'm the cheeriest, spookiest little fag out there.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. I don't see why. I'm just like, no, I'm a witch.
Exactly.
You're a witch.
Why confine yourself to one area of witchcraft?
Yeah. Why? It's so stupid and boring. It's just not worth it. Maybe you like the title, and maybe it's fun for you.
Right.
But I just feel like you're going to come to a point where you're just going to be like, I'm just a witch. There's no reason. I've encountered a couple of people I've known who used to say that they were that.
Yeah.
And they have openly shared about how they no longer do, and that the biggest thing was that they found it in the end, it was kind of limiting because they were just focusing their practice, their witchcraft,
on this one
really
area.
on this one area, because that's what a quiz told them to do. And yes, both of these people, it was determined via what type of witch thing. Yeah, because these have been floating around for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, since Instagram, before TikTok, and it was just like Facebook, Instagram, there would be these what type of witch are you? And so I just never took the quizzes, and so therefore I didn't hear about, your hedge witch until 2019. It was not really in any orbit, but then suddenly I started seeing these people popping up and being like, I'm this witch and that witch and blah, and I was like, what the fuck?
I'm a barnacle witch.
Right, I'm a mer witch. Okay, cool. All right. And then in the end, at least two people I have known actually who, like I said, determined this way, have both said that in the end they dropped it because it was very limiting.
Right.
It was just limiting in terms of their focus, and I can see it. And it just is sad now to see how it's proliferated throughout the years and it's now spread out to now we've got to a point where it's literally people making money off of this type of shit.
Yes.
And what's their expertise? What is their expertise to tell you what type of witch you are?
Exactly. Only you and however you call it, your goddess, your deity, your spirits, whatever. Only you and them know what type of witch you are.
Right. And then it's I feel like it's very dangerous because there's no context given example in terms of this article and parade.
Yeah.
There's no context given.
Exactly.
So what if you're just starting out and you see this and you're like, oh well, I was born on the 23rd, so I'm supposed to work with this goddess.
Yeah. And then you
have nothing. There's no reason for it, but you think because of this article and this number that you need to start reaching out to this deity.
Right. And they are not a deity that wants to work with you, and then the experience leaves you questioning if you are in fact a real witch.
Right. And then maybe you run off to Christianity and then you make I used to be a witch video and then we have the ex-witch fucking social thing going on. And all because you maybe went and hit up the wrong god or goddess. Or hit up the wrong fucking entity spirit to work with or to summon to give a task to.
Which is why we have said time and time again, and we will keep saying it, you have to wait for a goddess or god or deity or entity to be the one that reaches out to you.
Yes. And that is why I find something
and they are not going to do that through a quiz on the internet. I promise you they are not.
No. And again, when I looked at, ironically, to this day, little things will happen here and there that will literally remind me that this deity specifically is who has my back.
Exactly.
It's it just whenever there's a sense of doubt or which can happen, you always I'm full disclosure, I've had a loss in my family. Someone very important to me, it was very monumental and influential to who I am, has passed. And so you go through shit and you can have just questions of faith or whatever, challenging times throughout your life where maybe you feel like they're not listening anymore and you're were they ever there to begin with? Maybe they give up on whatever, and then something will come, or you'll come across something, or whatever, but that is just an unequivocal. And again, I'm not talking subtle, signs. I'm talking about something very specific to that deity that really is no doubt about it type sign. I'm not talking about just something ambiguous, what is an ambiguous sign? Something where it's just kind of it could be anybody. Not where it's so it's still maybe a sign that you're being watched out for, sure. But it's not, it still is kind of ambiguous as to if it really is specifically this deity or that deity, whatever. I'm talking about make sure they're It's like they're always like very specific. But then in those moments, it's like, okay. But I feel like when you are just approaching deities left and right because some quiz or other told you that is who you're supposed to work with because your birthday is the 23rd and therefore that number is taken without any context as to why it is. And again, there is no context. And we know that people these days don't like to read and they do absorb short form content.
Exactly.
So people aren't going to usually, they're going to read these articles and they're not going to dive deeper. They're not going to then be like, well, why is my birthday, why is this number supposed to be? No, they're just going to call them up and sure, they'll get the offerings. Maybe they'll do the offerings right. They'll look up the correct invocation. But
if that deity doesn't want to talk to you, they're not going to talk to you.
No. And so that's why we just have really stressed, like, and it can be a long time. Like I said, I was just Hekate and me for a long time. Like the first 10 years, it was just me and Hekate. There was no other genuine interaction with my second deity until I was 16. And before that, I had tried Aphrodite. I had tried Bridget. I tried Bridget, excuse me. I always say Queridan, but it's Bridget. I tried Bridget or Bree. Chrononus at one point. Who else in that time? There was one more. Aries, Mars, because Mars. No. It just didn't work. Either most of the time they never even picked up the phone.
Right.
The two who showed up, we tried.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. It felt inauthentic.
Exactly.
That's the big thing. It feels inauthentic.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, I think just like your relationships with people in your life.
Yeah.
You really have to be a good fit with each other.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And I really just firmly believe with deities, as a witch, being a witch is different than just being a polytheist, pagan, whatever. Like, it's different.
It is.
And those the same. It is also different than like being a witch is different than like being, let's say, part of like a closed practice like voodoo or lakumi, santeria, whatever. Like where, and then there's obviously there are different like branches, etc. But sometimes as a witch, very different deities from different practices, paths, whatever, will come to you because in the end they like power.
Yeah,
they do, and witches have a lot of power. I found that if you just stick working with who you're working with, a lot of times what ends up happening, and in my case how it's always been, is when a new deity or aspect of a deity steps in, because I would say in my case, my deities are all just different aspects of themselves in different drags, but they're all themselves just in different paths. But what happens usually is, like in the case of Hekate, when I turned 16 and I was at another transitional crossroads section in my life, where she was like, I can't really fulfill this.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm going to ask this dude to step in. Like, it was like, and I really feel like that's how it works. I really feel like if you are meant to work with more than one deity, have more than one altar in your home to more than one deity or whatever, it'll happen when it's meant to, because that deity has something to show you, to teach you, to guide you on, that whoever you're working with at the moment cannot do. Yeah. It's just something that, in my case, there was a lot in terms of my homosexuality and being a young gay man suddenly in a sexual heat, kind of, almost, I guess. Yeah. Like all these certain things that like I was in transition of and kind of needing to like have understanding of that Hekate couldn't do in that moment. So she took a step back, always there, but she took a step back and asked someone else to step in. And so then that's just kind of how it's always been. From there, it's how every deity that I now work with, and I only work with technically 3, but they all have aspects.
Yes.
But it's just technically 3. That's it. And that, and it's Papa Legba Eshu. And I will get more into this, is not this in the episode about how that came about. Right. But, so it's Hekate, Papa Legba Eshu, and Santa Morte. It was Oshun at one point. She's always kind of still there, but there was a point in my life when I was, from 22 to the age of 22 to the age of 24, I want to say, where Oshun had stepped in and was very prevalent because I was in a place in my life where I needed her. Again, that was because who I was working with stepped out and said, this isn't my area of expertise. I know someone who can help. Right. And sometimes deities will stay with you and they will be there consistently, and you will have different space for them, different altars to them, they'll always have their place. Whereas other deities will come in and maybe they're with you for a year, a few months, a decade, maybe 20 years, 30 years. Right. And then whatever they had to teach you, whatever they had to guide you, whatever it was they needed to show you is done. Right. And they go. And that's usually how that's how it organically, I feel like, should
yeah.
happen and work. And when it does, it always feels right and it feels correct. And your relationship with those deities is always going to be very personal and specific. So that's the thing, is like, that's why it's like, I work with very specific deities, and you know, you have Santa Muerte, you have Hekate, you have Papa Legba, Legba Eshu. You will see the common thread that unites all of them together, and then within my own witchcraft practice, my own path in my life, like which I said in a later episode, when I get more into about myself, we'll go into all of that.
Yeah.
But like, it all, numerologically, like it all, things that consistently tie them all together, and to me, in very specific ways, that then continue to reveal themselves in very specific ways. But it's like, they're kind of a hodgepodge, and it happened within, but years of separation. It's not like I just went and stopped people. I said it was Hekate up until I was 16. And then Papa Legba stepped in. And then it was 8 months later, a Legba. And then it was 15 years, I think, before Eshu. Like, it's, yeah, and then Santa Muerte, though always present as my patron saint, on my birthday, so she's my patron saint, on her feast day. But she didn't actually step into the forefront and say, hey, now it's time, like, I have things to teach you, I have things that you need to understand and learn. That didn't happen until I was 35 years old. It happened in 2020, spring of 2020, and I would say May. It was like May of 2020, and I didn't actually seriously work with her until August of 2020. So but that's what I mean, is it's not like, and it's not like I was not aware of her. I knew I was first introduced to Santa Muerte by my older cousin when I was like 10 years old, because I don't know if he still does, but at the time he followed her and he showed me, because I called her the Grim Reaper, and he's like, no, this is Santa Muerte, so she's a lady. But like, he showed me to her, and like, I was like 10, so it's like she's popped up, she's made herself known.
Certainly.
But she wasn't ready for me until I was 34, 35 years old.
Yeah.
Like, and I just think that yeah, it can maybe seem weird. You're like, you see other witches who are like, I have an altar to this deity and to this deity, and I have this pantheon to this deity, and it just seems like they're not old enough to have that happen organically. Like, clearly it's just, they sought them out, and they're like, I want to work with this one, this one, this one, and so I'm going to go out and buy the shit and make an altar to them.
Right.
I
mean, I am 35, and I also have 3 that have naturally happened over the course of my life.
Like, it's just, and I've met a lot of witches who, whenever it's naturally over time, they probably only have 3, maybe 4 deities that they work with. Like, it's usually people who have more than that, that are like, they just like magpie and hop from deity to deity, and I know that it can seem like, well, I need to have a deity, or I need to have more than one, right? Because these people that I follow have 15, 20, you know, they have an entire replica of Olympus and have a statue to every one, or, you know, one of Valhalla, and like all the fucking gods and Norse gods, and I don't know if it's Valhalla that is where they are. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm not really versed in the Norse deities. My apologies. I'm not, but you know what I mean. Wherever they're Olympus, like fucking, and you can feel like, well, I should have that too. Right. Or let's say you see people whose religious practice is, you know, one of the African diaspora ones, and for them, that is just their specific soul path. So they're not witches per se. I mean, they do magic. Like, it's witchcraft. Like, they're witches. It's a type of witchcraft. Like, but you know, they're part of a religious. So it's almost like where I'm at. I would not be a hedge witch. I would say I am a Hekate witch, because I follow a religious path that involves and works around Hekate. Exactly. But again, if looking at the other deities I work with, there is a common thread that unites and ties them all, and it's just kind of like Hekate is my lord, my lady, and Papa Legba, Legba Eshu is my lord. I got my lord, my lady. So it's like I still have the male, female, the plurality, you know. And then there's Santa Muerte, who wears many faces and is really, you know, has very much synchronicities to Hekate. And there's a lot of, I usually will say that's Hekate and daytime drag. Like, and yes, there are differences, but then there's also similarities and synchronicities. And a lot of times I think that's because deities will show up in a drag. The deity is the deity. But when they come to different peoples and different cultures, they put on a different drag that culture and those people can relate to and associate with. But it's still that same deity. And that is just what I see with the synchronicities. But there's also, here's the thing though, is within those synchronicities though, they are still separate. They are still separate aspects. So you have to respect those separate aspects and treat those aspects separately. And those aspects will demand separate things. And so Santa Muerte has her own altar, Hekate has her altar. Papa Legba, Legba Eshu, they have one long big ass fucking altar that they share. And there's just kind of like a process. And but again, they're all connected, but they're also all separate. Yes. They hang out on in the same place, and it's a whole fucking thing. But It's like Juno and Hera.
Exactly.
Like, it's like different we know what it means, but just, you have to treat it with respect and wait for it.
Exactly.
Really wait for it. Don't go seeking it out.
No.
Don't. You will, maybe you're not meant to work with a deity right now.
Exactly, because, you know, not every witch does. And I
No.
think that's an important conversation too, you know. Some don't work with deities. Some witchcraft is just not like that. And that does not mean it means any less than the witches who do.
Right. And therefore, if you're going to do it, if you are going to seek deity, I would suggest just opening yourself up and just saying and calling out. Something like that. Just something to throw it out there, throw out the invitation, and then say, I need, you know, deity who wishes to work with me. If I'm the vibe you want to work with, if my witchcraft and my magic tastes good to you, because that's the thing you got to think about. You are feeding them all the time. They are deities. The prayers, everything feeds them. Devotion feeds them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a witch, your witchcraft feeds them.
Exactly.
Your witchcraft empowers them. That's why a lot of times eclectic witches, which it's just witches. You're just a witch. And deities from all over different paths and traditions might pop up to work with you because you have something that
they enjoy.
That they enjoy. And so maybe you are, you know, a witch in Mexico, and you've only ever worked with, maybe you work with like the, Aztec fucking spirit gods and goddesses, right? And that's what you do. But then suddenly, fucking Freya shows up,
right?
And you're like, what? Well, yeah, because you're a witch. It's gonna happen. You are gonna have a light. Deities are gonna be attracted to it, and so suddenly, sometimes, a deity from a different area, geographical region, different polytheistic path, will walk into your life and be like, I have something to teach you. Again, that's organically happening. They're seeking you out. You're not seeking them out.
Exactly.
No video on YouTube. Yes, there are things that you can be like, what are specific signs to a god or goddess that would say that, hey, they're calling. Sure, there are obviously certain things that you're going to be like, okay. But
like a lot of the time, how it will organically happen is things will show up and become put in your path, but you won't understand the messages until years later.
Yeah.
When they want you to see.
Right. And there's also that sense of like, you know, their name will suddenly, not because you're looking for it, but like you'll be out and about and you'll hear what sounds like that deity's name being said, or then you'll be walking in a bookstore and pass a book and their name is on the spine, or you'll be like flipping through the channel and then something, or a recommended video, and so like there will be things that you're like, oh shit, like it's them, it's caller ID, they are calling.
Exactly.
Like, but there's also just kind of what we call, you know, personal gnosis, which is your own personal experience, which is only between you and the divine, and nobody else can speak to it.
Exactly.
And in that, a lot of times, I have found that the deity just kind of will speak to you. They'll speak to you. You'll hear them.
Yeah.
Like, you'll hear them. And you'll just know it is this deity or that deity.
Right.
And again, I will get later in later episode, I will get into specifics about how all these deities came into my life and when and how and what confirmed it, blah, blah, blah. But I will say again, after decades of experience with these deities, like, I don't question at all. I don't find myself ever questioning, like, am I working with them? Am I just talking to nobody? Am I whatever? Like, are they ignoring me? Like, they're there. They're very happy with me. I keep them very satisfied. And again, I work specifically with them for specific purposes. They're in my life for specific purposes. And I stick to that and I keep it very private and it's very personal. But if I had like a path, I would say, yes, I'm HEKA-TEA.
Yeah.
Just like you're Harriet.
Right.
And if you follow that, then yes, you're only going to work with that pantheon, for example. If you follow certain traditions, you are only going to work with that pantheon if it's like very religious and very like doctrined and has levels. Wicca has the same thing. I remember Wicca was a closed practice.
Exactly.
Until Jared Gardner published his book, which then opened the doors and fascinated everybody. But, you know, they had degrees.
Yeah.
Still do like traditional Wicca has Gardenian, Alexandrian witchcraft, has degrees, levels, you know. And that's very rigid. They usually work with a lord and lady, god, goddess, and they don't really usually ever call them by specific name of a god or a goddess. So usually just lord and lady.
Right. The god, the goddess.
Right.
Yeah.
And in those practices, it would make sense that yes, you're going to see those people tend to usually have a whole pantheon of altars and shit, like where it's because they're working with all of them within that path. Whereas as a witch, It may just be a particular deity. Again, don't go seeking them out, especially if your intentions are misguided or misunderstood. You're not exactly sure like why you want to work with said deity. Don't do that. Look at a lot of factors in terms of that, but most importantly, wait for them to come to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't follow information from some stupid quiz or some stupid like these signs thing on TikTok, or because it's all just most of the time people trying to get money out of you, and that's not what witch. Sometimes being a witch can be expensive. Like it can be, especially if you're just starting out and you're still learning, and so you need the books. Like those things are expensive. Like and unfortunately, there's a lot you can do just with candles from the Dollar Tree.
Exactly.
But sometimes
you
need that special candle that it's a spell that requires like a lot of specific things, and you have to spend a little more money. So we know like witchcraft can be expensive. Don't add any more cost to the situation than need be by falling for these gimmicks and giving people money, or just basing your direction on a listicle.
Right.
I mean, they're fun, sure, pass the time sitting at your desk, but don't take them seriously.
No.
Just follow your heart, follow your broom wherever it may lead, and just call yourself a witch.
And when you see that you were born on the 12th and therefore you're associated with XYZ deity, you say tee and move on.
Exactly. Oh, that's cute. And be like, I don't see it, or I see it, or yeah, I guess, and move on. Don't take it to heart.
No.
Especially if you're not working with that deity yet, or at all, or any deity. Don't take that to mean, oh, well, then I need to go dial up that deity. Because there's a good chance that deity is going to be like,
decline.
Yeah, why the fuck are you calling me? Bye.
Exactly.
Girl, bye. Boy, bye. They bye. So there you go. They bye.
They bye.
They bye. So there you go. Avoid it. And with that, we will be back with SpellCraft and the Pagan Invasion, Secrets of Mind Control, and Witchy Media review, which this time will not be a film or TV show of any kind, but an album. All right, so now we're back with SpellCraft.
We are.
And we were thinking about the topic that we were just discussing in terms of seeking out a deity and going about it and how to. So we thought, why not just do kind of like an off-the-cuff spell right now?
Yeah.
Just to show you how really kind of easy it is to send that invitation out there, and you don't really have to like make it so elaborate or overthink it. Just put out the invitation, light some candles, go before your altar, and put out the invitation. And saying something like, gods, goddesses, great divine, hear me now, hear my cry. Come unto me, I call to thee. I seek your wisdom, your aid, and blessings. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's how easy it is. Just kind of say what's in your heart. If you're like me and you like to make your spells rhyme as much as possible, just
then do that.
You like it, then do that.
Use
you don't have to. Yeah, or just literally use the spell that I just did.
Right.
Just go back and write down what I just said and use that. That's the whole point. That's why it's there. That's what SpellCraft is for. Use what we share. I gave you a spell. It's that easy. It's that off the cuff. Tweak it however you would like. But that simple puts the invitation out there, and then just start paying attention and listening. And trust me, if a deity wants to work with you, if a god or a goddess, any spirit, anything that wants to work with you,
they will let you know.
They'll let you know. They will let you know. They're a deity, for fuck's sake.
Exactly.
They can do it. They have the power. They will let you know. They will let you know. So just send out your invitation and don't worry about it.
Exactly.
All right. So next, we are back. We are back, yes. Yes. We are back. To fly through the crystal mountains of heaven, to go to the crystal palace of medieval times, to join once again Caryl and Chuck Smith on the throne of paganism and despair for an all-new paranoid episode of Pagan Invasion, Secrets of Mind Control.
Oh.
This is just a documentary about another cult.
Yes.
A Hindu cult. What more can be said? It's really, they talked about Jim Jones, left out that Jim Jones was Christian, and that Jonestown was all based in Christianity and Christian belief.
Because why would they acknowledge that?
Right. It was just another, Hinduism is bad, pagan Hinduism, because that's how they referred it, was pagan Hinduism.
And then they got into Hitler, but left out that Hitler was a Christian.
It just...
Are you seeing a pattern here? Because I sure am.
It was conflating a cult leader who used Hinduism, because that was the faith that he came from, and the tradition that he grew out of.
Yes.
Conflating that one thing with all of Hinduism.
Yes.
Just like, if it would be conflating David Koresh and Waco, or Jim Jones and Jonestown, their Christianity and their tactics of using Christianity and the Christian message to manipulate their cult as saying, well, that is all of Christianity.
That's what Christianity is. No.
Yeah, like, it was just another racist, paranoid hit piece about things from the East, anything brown.
Yes.
Now, was it horrific? The things that they showed from this cult and this cult leader?
Yes,
absolutely. And what was the name of the cult leader? Guru? Rajneesh, that's right. And it was the Punta temple. And based out of Oregon. And the irony was the congressman or senator or whatever who was killed in Jonestown when he was part of the envoy to check on everybody, and then they were gunned down at the airport. His daughter joined this Rajneesh cult.
Yeah.
So there is an irony there,
certainly.
But that's obviously she was taken in by trauma, and
as so many cult victims are.
Correct. But again, it's conflating cult leaders who, because the faith they come out of was Hinduism, and so that is the foundation on which they use their cult practice, their cult spirituality, with all of Hinduism.
Right.
And we know that this is just not the case. This is just not true.
Exactly.
And the irony is, so much that they were saying is like, oh, they'll talk about this, they'll talk about that. The followers will say this, the followers will say that. You're sitting there going, oh my God, it's MAGA.
Exactly.
It's MAGA Republicans.
Yes.
It's like literally like the irony of where it came, like it just, yeah. It's insane. We came across another Masters of Fear, which was Caryl and Chuck's other documentary, which they did in like 1986, but filmed over a long period of time through like the late 70s and early 80s. Yeah, it's another Caryl and Chuck documentary. She's got like 3 now that have been used to like back up these episodes.
Right. I notice it's always their documentaries that are used.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's never any other content.
No. I don't know. I just think that it's going to get harder and harder to sit through all of these. Like, we're on episode 9 of 13. And
which means we got 4 left.
Yeah. 4 left. And we're finally getting to the Mormons.
Yes. Next time
we will finally get to the Mormons, who take up like the next 3 episodes. And then the last one is like Satan Today or some shit like that. Like, what can you say? It's not even good for a laugh. Like,
no,
it's just
really not. It's just
sad and terrifying.
More of a headache every single time.
Yeah, and you see more and more how this type of shit has influenced the people who are now making decisions in leadership today. Like, it's kind of nuts. Like, it just... And the fact that people are watching this actively today and absorbing it as truth is terrifying. It really is. Because like we said the last time, we're not the only ones watching Pagan Invasion. No. And certainly we're probably one of a few who are watching it satirically.
Exactly.
And for educational purposes. Because we are educating ourselves on kind of how this all happened. Because a lot of what MAGA people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lori Boebert and Matt Gaetz and all these fucking fuckers, Josh Hawley, J.D. Vance, the shit they're talking about comes right out of this. So it's like, there is an educational part to watching this and telling you guys about it, because it helps to understand what's fueling these mind frames, these mindsets, and these beliefs and ideas. But holy fuck. And then there was that whole ending of where it was like a montage designed to instill fear in you as a viewer.
Exactly.
Of like, people being like, I would die for him. Voiceover of like people loading guns and like all this fucking crazy shit. And then it stops and you get these like, it's like kaleidoscope, like lava lamp type thing going on. And then it's this like, the president of the Christian Heritage Foundation, and he's talking about like the dangers of cults, but doing it in this like soothing voice. And he's like, and it can be broken down into the things to look out for can actually, funny enough, be broken down into an acronym that spells out flesh. And it's like fear, loyalty, loving, loneliness, emptiness, like just all these things that like hatred and like, yeah, and it's just designed to then like literally hypnotize you. Like, you've been put into this altered, heightened state of, oh my god, panic, and it kind of takes you out of it because you're like, what the fuck am I seeing with all these guns and shit? And it just on, it sucks you in, and then it goes to this situation, and you're like, okay, what the fuck? Like, it's all calming, and you're like getting zoned into this kaleidoscope lava lamp of color, and then you're reading about the acronym of flesh. Like, it's working its trick on you to then fear Hinduism and fear all polytheistic paths, anyone who uses the buzzwords pagan or Hindu or guru, or it's all there fucking working on you.
Exactly.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's just very ironic to watch in real time them warn about these tactics and then use them in the episode.
Yeah, like it's insane. While warning you about the tactics. It's fucking weird. It was trippy. So there you have it. Episode 9 of 13, Secrets of Mind Control, Pagan Invasion. in the bin.
Over and out.
And that leaves us with Witchy Media Review.
Yes.
Which we're doing music. And it's just so I came across a press release for a new group. It's a Nordic folk trio called HEKA-TEA. And of course, so I was like, oh my god. So I go to look at the press release. And it says that they released their debut album, 17 Forstad, which I'm probably brutally mispronouncing, but I couldn't find a proper pronunciation way anywhere, so I'm just gonna wing it. Apologies on every Nordic pronunciation that I fuck up, because it's gonna happen. Try my best here. So it translates to like eternity, forever, or eternity, always, something about eternity going on, something like that. But it said, in the night and darkness, Hekate reigns, composed of 3 bodies, each with their own distinct powers. She guards the moon, the crossroads, and holds the key to the portal between worlds. The vocal trio Hekate, Malin Alander, Silje Rizdol Leagan, and Sinov Brondbo Klassen. Again, my apologies if that is the incorrect pronunciation of your names, or their names, if they're not listening, but you are. It's probably wrong. Again, I'm not Nordic in any way, shape, or form, and I certainly am not equipped at their pronunciation of dialect, so my apologies. The 3 of them open the door to a new musical realm where ancient power meets modern club energy. So we listened to the album.
We listened.
So, I will preface by saying, what the music actually is, they're very talented.
Yes.
Was it what was described in the press release? No.
It was not.
It was not. In any way, shape, or form. It was very, just kind of like traditional, like there was a drum.
Yeah.
There was a drum. There was some beating of a drum.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very like traditional, like folk hymnal,
yes.
like very, it made you want to watch The Mists of Avalon, I believe is what you said.
And
I agreed. Like Lorena McKenna, very clanted.
Mm-hmm.
It was very like, there was no club music. There was no modern club energy. There was no, I thought maybe I was listening to a rough cut EP, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'm not listening to like a finished album. But then I found out that we were listening to the finished album. I don't know why I said because we both were listening to it, but yeah, I looked it up, and it was the album that just came out on June 8th, I believe it's the date. Well, June 13th, Friday the 13th is when it dropped. There was no club anything. There was no club energy. There was no, unless nightclubs are completely different from what I remember them being. I think there was still dance music in them. I mean, I haven't been to a dance club in like 4 years, but I mean, there was music. There was dance music. I believe they still do dance music.
Yeah.
This was very just like, I'm gonna go see like Celtic Woman or something, like Clannad. I'm gonna go.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
It's just not what was advertised.
Yeah, I love that type of music, but it seems very at odds with the way it was described in the press release.
Yeah. Also, none of their songs, in English translation of the titles, indicated Hekate in any way, shape, or form. And then I did a little investigating and checked out their Instagram at hekate.trio, and there was no reference to the goddess in any way, shape, or form. Like in any of the like thanks, like, oh, our album is dropped, like blah blah blah. We worked so hard on this, blah blah blah. You would think there'd be like thanks always to the goddess Hekate. I checked the other women's socials, and there was no reference to Hekate in any way, shape, or form. It felt just very like
the name was almost hollow.
Yeah, they just picked it because there's three of the ladies singing, and they were like, what makes us sound spooky? Like, it just, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I literally found no evidence whatsoever that they actually follow Hekate. That they actually have any involvement with her association beyond the name, which was kind of disappointing. Yeah. That being said, again, the music was beautiful. Beautiful. And if you were looking for tribal, like actual, like traditional folk Nordic music,
like
this
something
is perfect.
To play at your ritual.
Like this was great. Like if you were looking for like actual traditional Nordic sounding folk music, then yes. But if you were looking for something with like modern club energy that was like modern, new, and on the dance floor, because it kept saying like in it too, whether great, for looking for people who want to listen to something and look inward and deep or whatever, or like something great on the dance floor for the dance floor.
I did not hear the dance floor.
I heard no dance floor. There was literally none. Like I said, at some points it was basically them a cappella, and then at some points you would hear a drum
in the background,
but like a drum, not like a
bass
drum. Not like a bass, not the bass.
Like this kind
like
of
a drum, just like a drum, a hand drum with a take the flame inside you, round and round. That's kind of our reference. Is like we're referencing the Wicker Man. Obviously, if you don't know, now you do. The OG with Christopher Lee and Ingrid Pitt, not the remake with Nicolas Cage.
No.
So
don't make us get into that whole song and dance again.
Not again. So I'm based solely on the press release from their record label, not PR, it was from their official, from their label. Based on the press release from their label, I am going to give it a waxing crescent.
Yeah.
Like, it's good, they're talented. I'm not going to take away from, like, their actual music,
talent,
so I'm not going to go the waning side of the moon on this at all.
No.
But I can't give them a give it. It's got to be like a silver crescent.
Yeah.
We're talking, like, based solely on press release.
Right.
It's going to be that sharp crescent, like, not that wide one.
Exactly. Like, I'm not going to sit here and give them a new moon or anything, but I would maybe go with, like, a first quarter moon.
Yeah, so there you have it. First quarter waxing crescent for Hekate's debut album, out now on Spotify, everywhere. Again, that's Hekate, or HEKATE, and you can find them on Instagram at hekate.trio. Yeah, take a listen. Again,
Right.
if you are wanting actual, like, traditional Nordic folk music for your ritual or anything else, then this is great.
Yes.
And in that regard, I'll give them a full moon.
Yes.
In that regard, a full moon. But in regards to what I was expected based on the press release and what I was hoping for and what I was promised and what was actually delivered, not so much.
Exactly. I mean, for me, the quarter of the moon that is in there is based on their talent.
Yes.
The rest, that's why the other 3/4 are missing.
And don't name yourselves fucking Hekate if you aren't outwardly giving praise and thanks and showing that there's an actual meaningful reason beyond that there's just 3 of you and you want to sound folky and witchy and spooky.
Exactly. Like, to me, it's just giving, like, oh, what's a recognizable name that'll make us sound witchy? Oh, HEKA-TEA.
There's 3 of us. Yeah, exactly. One's blonde, one's brunette, one's redhead.
And I think it goes back to something that we have discussed on the show before, and that is using a deity's name when you really don't know that much about them.
Using their name in vain.
Yes.
Well, it's even the description of Hekate in this. In the night and darkness, Hekate reigns, composed of 3 bodies, each with their own distinct powers. She guards the moon, crossroads, and holds the key to the portal between worlds. Okay. First of all, it's kind of like that description. It's like yes and no. That's a very not much of an that's a very small understanding of her. Small, very measly, small, minuscule understanding of her. I would not have used those terms to describe her. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just wouldn't have used, like, to say she guards the moon. Like, she doesn't guard the moon. I'm not sure what they mean by that.
Right.
Like, and then she guards the crossroads. I mean, she doesn't guard them. She rules them. I mean, she does, but she rules the crossroads.
Right.
She's keeper of the crossroads. She's met at the crossroads. She rules. Like, it just...
Does that mean she keeps the moon from shining during the day? Like,
yeah, and holds the key to the portal between worlds. Yes, this is all true. It's just... It sounds... To me, the press release just sounds gimmicky.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's using buzzwords of Hekate for gimmick reasons. And of course, it's the entertainment industry. It's going to have gimmick. You're fucking with deities. I just think, like, think about why and how and if there's purpose. Oh, I don't know. They're talented. They're great. Am I nitpicking on the description used for her? Yes, but it's also because her 3 bodies don't guard over those things. I guess that's the thing that bugs me about it, is that it says, in the night and darkness, Hekate reigns, composed of 3 bodies, each with their own distinct powers. And then they're saying one of her guards the moon, the crossroads, and the other holds the keys to the portal between worlds. Like, no. That's not what her bodies of 3 represent, like, or mean. Like, that's not, each one does that. Like, that's not what that is. No. Like, that's what Hekate does, but it's anyways, I will get into all of that.
Yes.
We have that coming up in August.
Exactly.
So, we're going to have an Eyes of Hekate episode, because we said we're finally going to talk about her and get into her. Well, we thought Eyes of Hekate, it's my birthday.
Yes.
So we did her birthday episode, we're going to do my birthday episode, and we figured might as well, that should be the, HEKA-TEA of it all episode. So, we will get into all of that, but in her 3 bodies, her tridotis form and her triaditis form, but that's not like one's on the moon. No. So I guess that's what irks me. It's not that the wording, because those things are all significant to Hekate, but it's just attributing it to saying her individual forms do those things. Right. Like, that's not the case. So it just seems like a very elementary pre-K understanding of Hekate and using her to promote this band. And if the ladies do follow Hekate, they are Hecateans. Right. Then my apologies. But if that is the case, then you need to be like speaking the word, because you're not. No. You're not giving. I scoped your socials, all 3 of you and your group. Like, I scoped your band social and then your individual socials. None of you have anything to Hekate. None of you. So if you are Hecateans, then you need to start expressing, because it just looks like you're just using her for a gimmick. Cute, but a gimmick. All right, so that's it.
Oh, I think that is about all that we have for you guys on this lovely Omen release date.
Yes. Watch that over Pagan Invasion.
I think it's very funny that that anniversary falls on the new moon in Cancer this year, because I think that The Omen is a very Cancerian type of movie.
I would agree.
It's bombastic, it's symphonic, it's dramatic, and it's also focused on the story of a family.
Yes.
And also the breakdown of said family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not surprised that it did come out during Cancer season, because I see a lot of the Cancer in that movie.
Well, there you have it. If you're a Cancer, you want to celebrate Cancer season, consider watching The Omen.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, which how could you not, then please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And once again, spread the word about this beautiful and baneful and blessed coven that we are building here. My name is Marcus.
And I'm Evan.
And remember, witches, broomsticks, not just for cleaning.